Awesome, awesome.
All right. Well, first of all, thank you so much for agreeing to be our next interview topic for Sarna. I'm very happy to be speaking with Michael. Sorry, is it Ciaravella or Ciaravella? Because I've never had to pronounce your name.
That's very fair. It's actually Ciaravella.
Okay, Ciaravella.
It
Perfect.
probably should be Chiaravella, but that I only hear
That's
that
too
when
much for me.
Lauren saying it. So
All right, fair enough.
no, Lauren gets great joy out of hearing that every once in a while.
Okay, well, I'm pretty sure you're a well-known name and face at this point, but in case somebody doesn't know who you are, could you briefly give us your introduction? Who are you for those who don't already know?
Well, I don't know if I've ever given a brief introduction ever, but I am Michael Ciaravella. I am in no particular order, I am a BattleTech author. I am the Catalyst demo team coordinator, and I am Catalyst Game Lab's event manager as well. So I wear many hats. For many years, I was the minister without portfolio, as we like to joke. I do a little bit of everything. Hotels are after 20 years in hotels. Uh, Helpful pseudo game designer, general putterer. You know, all the good stuff. That's how you get into the gaming industry.
Fair, just do everything.
Oh yeah, no. Once again, this is I've worked in the gaming industry for about 12 years before that, in a multitude of roles in different places. But I'm a long-term fan of BattleTech, and when you love a game that much, it's only natural for you to toss your all at it.
Fair. All right. So we have a little bit of your background on the Sarna, but not a lot of it. So give us your BattleTech story. What got you into BattleTech and what keeps you playing?
That's always a great one right there. Well, I always like to joke that I got into it for the political theater, and then was sucked in by the big stompy robot. I find it very entertaining, and when I get to sit down with one of my fellow authors, Mike Stackpole, who of course everyone knows Mike,
Yep.
great the author emeritus, magnificence personified right there. When we're not talking about Star Wars stuff, because I love his X-wing books, I always like to tell him that I actually picked up the Warrior trilogy before I knew what BattleTech was, because I was just looking for super cool space opera, space politics, and I couldn't have asked for a better book to pick up.
Mhm.
And just a couple of, depending on who you ask, months or years later, I was at a small, for me, convention at the time, Icon, which used to be on Long Island, and I was at the fourth day of a 3-day convention.
I see.
It was Sunday. They were wrapping up. There was nobody left. But I went with my father, which made it a very, very special time with me. He'd just gotten the day off. And I sidle up to a table, and there's a fan pro agent, tells you how far back we're talking here,
Yeah.
uh, with a little plastic bag with a javelin in it, an unpainted javelin. He's like, "Hey, kid, you want to learn how to play this game?" And sure, if there's candy, whatever is the thought process. And no, I sat down, played my first game, and I was hooked. I would be when I went up to college, I was playing 2, 3 times a week. During the Whiz Kids era, I was playing Age of Destruction and the Mech Warrior Clicks game right there. I've been going strong since the 80s right there, but I love the game. I love the universe, and I'm honored to be a part of it now.
Cool. And of course, we can't go on to any of the question before we get the all important question out of the way. What's your favorite mech?
I always split it into two. But once again, it always depends on what you're trying to accomplish. But if we're talking the classics, I will always be a Marauder man. Just seeing that the old school Marauder, it is gorgeous. Now I love all the new resculpts. I love everything we've done with it over the years.
Mhm.
But at that same point, just looking at it, that will always be BattleTech to me. I love the Atlas. One of my cats was named Atlas, so I love my Warhammer. I love all my mechs, but that one's an important one. And in the newer era, I'm a huge fan of the Devastator. Just if you want to hit something at any range for any reason and then survive whatever's coming back at you, for me, it's usually the Devastator, which
Devastator is a good
I just
choice too.
love.
Okay, well, let's get into your Catalyst history. As you said, you've been
Okay,
there
done.
doing stuff for many years. Our wiki says you started off as a demo team special agent, but I don't know if that's necessarily true. So, how did you get started with Catalyst, and how did that transform into becoming head of the demo team as well as a celebrated author?
I really need to take a minute too at some point and look up my own page on Sarna because the last time was when I had a single book there, and I think it's gotten much bigger since then.
We've got a few books now.
Oh yeah, actually, I think there's also 2 articles for me now that I'm looking at it right there, which may be
Yeah.
even funnier. There is awesome. So legitimately, I started as a demo team agent. I want to say officially in 2017, 2018. I was a late holdover. Once again, I live in the capital region of New York, or I did at the time, and there was a very that whole northeastern section was very separated from BattleTech as a whole. We've got the Massachusetts group, we've got the Total Con Collective, we've got tons of gamers, some of whom who were here since who wrote in the original FASA BattleTech book. So we've got a huge following. We had one of the longest running mercenary campaigns of about 7 or 8 years in the region, which was lovely. But so I was doing a lot of events. I was doing a lot of little things up in the northeast. I'd heard what wonderful stuff that the demo team was doing, and at that point, I was, well, let's say, a competitive gamer. I was probably 6, 7 years into going to every Gen Con, every Origins, and it was all BattleTech. BattleTech and for a little while Mech Warrior right there. That's what I did. That's what I played. I was in every Solaris Melee Championship. Went for the blood name. We joke about this a lot. I think we were up to 4 years where I'd come in second for the blood name every single time. Always the bridesmaid, never the bride. Until the year after when I finally got my blood name. Thank goodness. If it didn't happen, I don't know if I'd have had the energy to do demo team on top of everything else. But no, I managed it. Once you got blood name, you're fine. You're good.
That's it. Nothing to
Uh,
prove.
but yeah, no, I was at that point I had already started some writing. I love space opera, I love science fiction. The science fiction game Starflight. If
Hmm.
anybody remembers Starflight right there, they did an anthology. I had a story in there. I'd created something for the Four Horsemen universe. I did a few things in the Hull Breach universe for a different company there. So I'd already started writing, but now that I was getting more involved, I actually took the opportunity to sit down with John Helfers, executive editor for Catalyst, and Brent Evans, who at that time had been taking over as line developer,
Hmm.
and we had some great conversations. And after about 2 years of me buying John dinner, we eventually managed to get everybody into the right place and said, "Hey, we need to do this." Well, not I need to do this, but this sounds like a really great story, and so they let me run with it, and that was Grey Watch Protocol, my first novel, which suddenly became 2 novels because it went from this big to this big.
Sometimes that happens.
And it really does. And once again, BattleTech is known sometimes for its fun little duologies or trilogies that come out of a single story. So that is fun. I've loved doing all of that. And once I'd finished that book, suddenly everything started moving right there. A lot of fun projects. As of right now, I've got one BattleTech novel. We'll talk about this a little bit later. That's almost done. I've got a Shadowrun novel that is almost ready for editing, and a Leviathan's novel, which I will eventually get past the outline stage because legitimately we've been one of the things you will learn in any company, but especially in one that's for game writing right there, is sometimes the necessity of the moment shifts everything.
Mhm.
I was very blessed to do Trial of Birthright, which I know we'll talk about in a little bit right there. But that absolutely, I had my next novel ready to go. The outline been done for 2.5 years. We were ready to rock, but just the universe switched over. We needed to focus in some different directions, and sometimes the fun stuff just shows up when you're not expecting it to.
All right, well, I'm looking forward to hearing about what you're going to be working on soon. But let's talk about one of your recent stories. One of the stories that will be kind of defining the Ilclan era, Trial of Birthright. Now, in Trial of Birthright, spoilers for anybody who hasn't read it yet, you introduced a new character called Darren Wolf,
Mhm.
who's an interesting character. What is the creative process for introducing a character who may very well turn out to be pivotal in the Ilclan era's narrative success?
Well, I always like to, when I can, give a little bit of a look behind the curtain right there. So, as we know, every 2, 3 years, some of the BattleTech authors and the line developers and everyone get together and we do a summit.
Mhm.
And we try to go through the next couple of years of in-game and future stuff. Especially in the Catalyst era, we've had to go back and kind of see this is what we planned out for right now. This is what actually happened. This was what actually got created, and this is where we're going. That was a really fun experience. We're coming up on our next one right there. But one of the big things from that we took from that summit was we were starting to look at some of our characters and going, some of them are starting to get a little long in the tooth for humanities, for active combat, active service.
Mhm.
Once again, age is just a number. We're not saying anything about that, but we have a lot of our stars starting to get up into their late 80s. Some of
And
them
like,
into their hundreds.
especially
They
in the
can't all be Victor.
clans. And the
Oh,
clans are
especially
all
in the
young
clan.
people, so they can't have these 80-year-old geriatrics doing like all this
Yeah.
mech warrior stuff.
Oh yeah, well, they can still do everything they need to, but at that same point, we did need to start preparing. One of the things we sat down and said, "Hey, what characters do we have that will help carry the torch into the future?" Because once again, we've gone through eras where the special names have gotten us there. The Natasha Kerenskys, the Victor Steiner Davians, the Allards. So once again, we've got those people, but some of them are no longer on the stage, or some of them we didn't know where they were. So we needed to start looking at some of the characters, some of the up and colors, some of the Rye stars, and see what we were doing with that. One of the tricks to that is, and one of the risks is, we also needed to start making some new ones. Now, at the time, Darren was not even a thought process. I was not even attached to the project at that point. We didn't even know Ilcon's Eyes Only was just a fever dream that we had. Trial of Birthright was supposed to, and Blood Will Tell. Blood Will. Tom
Blood will
Levine's novel,
rise.
Blood Will Rise. I
Yeah,
always want to say Blood Will Tell, different thing.
yeah.
But that was one novel at the time, right there. That was not going to be split into two, and just a bunch of different things that we were playing with. But we needed to come up with someone new, and that's where we get to the magic right there of you make the spaghetti and you toss it against the wall. Sometimes you just need to see what it sticks. Darren may be very pivotal in the future. He had a nice, I think he had a nice outing here. I've heard from a few other authors who'd like to play with him, so that is great too. But once again, especially in a tie-in fiction role like BattleTech, we all have there's no the character is not mine. It's one of those things that he is now part of the history, and will he have an effect? Maybe. Will others take him in different directions? That's one of the big challenges that I was asked in a previous interview of how do you take a character like, let's say, Alaric, who was written by 4 different authors and is all a little bit different, and then continue him forward based off of everything in the world right there. It's a challenge. So the creative process was I needed to figure out what it for Darren specifically, what did I want to achieve? I want somebody who is relatable. I wanted someone who could breach or broach the barriers between the Republic era,
Hmm.
and still being a product of that Republic era, and the new Ilclan itself. So for me, it had to be a clan character, had to be a relatively young one, not too established in the previous era, but someone who could help ease us and carry us through and answer some of the questions that we still had. Once again, the Republic era, the Trial of Birthright, and some of my other books really are the love letters to the Republic era. Once again, we've moved past the Dark Age,
Hmm.
but those who lived through the Republic, some love it, Some hated it, as with any era of BattleTech. I support everyone and their feelings. But at that same point, we all lived through it. And I really wanted to take this book to let them make some final connections with various people. Pardon me, still got a thing trickle in my throat from last weekend.
Fair enough.
I wanted to give it the opportunity for us to close up certain things, but also to make a character that I thought was interesting and could potentially help the readers move into the new era and be excited for it. I know there are some. The Ilcon era, like all eras of BattleTech, can be a little polarizing, but we want to make sure that we can show people there are good things all over and to give them the opportunity to play in the universe, enjoy the universe in any era, and then hopefully have some joy.
And maybe also set up for some heroes to arise in Clan Wolf where it's looking, I don't know, a little bit ambiguous where they are on that good bad scale.
You've hit the nail right on the head right there. I'm glad that came across. I never try to feed that one in, but sometimes you just need characters who you just don't. They all don't need to be heroes. I love a good anti-hero, but at that same point, you just can't hate everyone. Clan Wolf, for over the course of things recently, has had a dearth of characters that you want to see win.
Mhm.
Alaric's been all over the map. Like him, hate him, I support all of those theories, but it's also really hard to give that sort of character a redemption arc. I'm not even sure if you really want to at that point. Some people just
Yeah.
want him dead, people want him to fail, some people want that's that. Chance Vickers. I've loved seeing her little trip up and down right there, but for some, the some things is it's very entertaining. Some are others, and not to mention the most fun you can have is when you can have one of your other characters give those nice little zingers to her.
Mhm.
The scene in the middle of the book where someone tells off Chance is one of my favorites. I get messages on that Facebook all around. Oh yeah, nice. Tell her that. That's all I want right there. The Republic has long memories. Yes, you will be one of them. So, that's the true fun of an author right there.
Well, that sort of leads in to my next question. You also kind of mentioned this a little bit earlier, where you said that there's a summit where all the authors get together to kind of create where the universe will be going for that year. But after that, what is the process between you and the rest of Catalyst IP developers? Like, how much push and pull happens between you as the author and, I don't know, some people in fact check, or just the line developer making sure everything kind of fits in with the overall universe narrative?
That is an excellent question, and my first and foremost answer is always Thunderdome. It is the ongoing battle right there. So, as with anything else, when we're doing tie-in writing, especially in the BattleTech universe, we need to have a good story. Now, sometimes the line developer or executive editor will come to you and say, "Hey, Michael, I need a book about this. Write an outline that hits A, B, and C," and there we go. Sometimes you'll come to them and say, "Hey, you need a mercenaries novel. Here's my spec. Do you like this paragraph, the 30-second elevator pitch? Do you like it enough for me to waste my time in doing an outline?" And then sometimes things go that way. I've done it both ways. It always works. It always works. One of those variations there.
Mhm.
Then once you've gotten the outline goes through line developers, not often by fact check. Usually the line developers can handle that all internally, but it'll go through executive editor, line developer, and they'll tell you if they like that, go for it. Then you write draft one, and then it usually goes simultaneously to your editor.
Mhm.
It goes to the line developers, and it goes to fact check. So all three can chomp in on that. Sometimes it's one after the other, which depending on how quickly they get back, sometimes it's all simultaneous. Then, assuming you are not super off the mark somewhere and you haven't like put it in the wrong galaxy, they'll send you back a massively complicated draft that you need to go through. You pick at the notes, you look at it, and then it's multiple debates with not so much fact check. It's usually pretty straightforward with fact check, but with the line developers and what do we want to add in? What do we want to take out? And sometimes it's even the line developers and the editor will look at you and say, "Hey, I really want to hear more about this one-line character. Can you stick them in more? Or can you change a name? Or can we just take the battle in an entire different direction?" Sometimes the way of things, and then somehow all the rest there ends up in Magic/Thunderdome, and eventually there is a novel that goes out to the world right there, and hopefully it takes you in the same direction that you want to go. You also need to remember the fact that source books are a thing.
Mhm.
Now, I've written source books for BattleTech, I've written novels for BattleTech. I love to talk about Ilcon's Eyes Only and Trial of Birthright, because Trial of Birthright was all planned out long before Ilcon's Eyes Only came out. And it was far ahead, and this was going to come up 4 months before anything else. We were going to be fine. Then BattleTech had an interesting Kickstarter or two that came out. So I needed to write some other stories, and I needed to design some other scenarios and do some things. So suddenly they were running neck and neck. And I'm talking with the lead designer for Ilkan's Eyes Only. He's like, "Oh, did this happen?" I said, "No, that absolutely didn't happen. We need to hold on. I'm still coming out a month before you do, so you want to catch up here." And that's just how the fun of how it goes right there. It's a great collaborative process. You get to work with very smart people who love BattleTech, and all the lines right there. If you're doing it for Shadowrun, same thought process. Leviathans, you can't really be in this industry without having a love of what you do. Some people just love to write, and tie-in fiction is their way of doing things, which is great. But you'd be hard pressed to find anyone who writes BattleTech now or who works in BattleTech who doesn't love the universe on some deeper level. And we're very, very blessed to be able to do that. You know that all too well. You,
Oh yeah.
you wouldn't do what you do if not for the love of BattleTech right there.
Absolutely. Okay, we've this is also partly a bit Trial of Birthright, but also about Ilcon's Eyes Only. Alaric Ward is turning out to be a deeply flawed character. I think we could all agree. He's also, as you said, kind of all over the map. Sometimes he's portrayed in this very driven, very focused character with a very specific goal, and then sometimes he just appears to be downright mentally ill. So, in your opinion, what is it? Is he buckling under the pressure of being Ilcon? Is he someone who's actually mentally unstable? And how much leeway do you have as the author in portraying him in these different lights?
That is another great question right there. Leeway as an author, I've got great leeway up through the first draft to make sure that I can kind of sell my perspective. Alaric especially though, you've got is such a interesting character because he was written by Mike Stackpole, written by Lauren Coleman, written by Jason Hart, and some of the other characters right there, some other greats of the universe. So it's always hard to keep that all together because everybody puts their own flavor on the character. I don't think he's mentally ill. I did very much in Trial of Birthright like playing around with the pressure is starting to get to him, but he's the dog who caught the car. He doesn't know what to do with it now. I'm Ilcon, and one of the things that always makes people laugh when I say it at some of the conventions is he became Ilcon, and he was convinced that the Star League would come fully formed out of his butt. I'm Ilcon. I was told Star League was a thing. It's ready now. Why aren't my armies marching on the next planet yet? Because they don't exist.
Mhm.
You just used everything you've got to take this planet, and you're not done yet. I love Trial of Birthright, as you know, right there, without giving anything away. It starts literally like 14 minutes after um Blaine's book.
uh,
Uh,
Hour of the Wolf.
Hour of the Wolf. Yes, I always want to say. We always used to joke about Trial of Birthright being Wolf of the Hour and just flip it around right there. But it literally 15 minutes later, right there, and that was a huge tome of a book that covered so much. But that's later that night. Evelyn Stone has been dead for not even hours at this point. So there's a lot of shock and there's a lot of uh, changes and things happening very, very quickly. So going back to Alaric, I think he's not quite sure what to do next. He had a plan, but he also, as with any good leader, he wasn't sure he was going to win. And he absolutely doesn't think, no matter what he said, he was going to win in this way. So now he needs to figure out, how do I keep to the Kerensky's vision? How much do I even want to? What are we looking at here? There's some beautiful moments of Alaric looking down at Alexander Kerensky and kind of going, "I did what I completed the mission. Now what do
Now
we
what?
do? Where do we go from here?" And that's where Alaric's going to have. That's where the Ilcon era is going to get very interesting. What do we do now? Because okay, the wolves are on Terra. That's great. We've got an Ilclan. We've got a Star League. Now what? There's a whole big universe that is very, very used to not bowing down to everybody else. How is this going to shake out?
Fair enough. Okay, let's change gears a little bit and talk about
Cool.
combat. It wouldn't be a BattleTech story without some mech combat. And I've asked
It's
this
not peace tech, it's BattleTech. Yeah.
exactly, and I've asked this to a few authors, and it's always interesting how they kind of go about creating these battles in their heads. Some of them play them out as actual tabletop, and some of them take a more cerebral, just visualizing the battle in their heads. How do you go about creating battles between multiple mechs? Do you play them out, or do you actually have a more cerebral take on it?
I will always prefer to play them out. Even if I know exactly the direction in which I've got to go, I like to play them out right there, which is one of the reasons why we get things like the BFG number 2, the lunar, the setting map for Grey Watch Protocol and Blood. Now I don't even know which books I'm writing right now. But Pain and
Pain and
Blood.
Blood.
I knew there was blood in there right there.
Yep.
No, Pain and Blood right there. But that's how we get some of these things. No, I love to play them out, whether here, Mega Mech, wherever I can. Unfortunately, the sheer tempo of some of the writing schedule sometimes makes that less possible for me to do it out in full classic BattleTech style. But one of the other reasons that ASINs and Alpha Strike are such a great thing right now is you can now do these things in a much quicker way while still being able to, how did this tank turn this corner? How did this battle mech get from A to B? That's part of the fun, and I would never want anyone to miss out on that if they could.
And you also have a little bit more narrative flexibility with Alpha Strike. Like, yes, you took critical damage. Yes, it gave you a -1 to your weapons. Okay, that could mean you lost a PPC, you lost a laser, you maybe lost an arm. You get to still choose a bit what happens within that framework. It's a very interesting way to do things.
Oh yeah, and once again, I love the crunchiness of standard BattleTech. That it really gives you that immersive feeling. You know what you're looking at, but especially on the level that I wind up doing a lot of my novels right here. It's company on company. It's regiment on regiment right here. That is really tough. I've done it, but it's really tough to do on the classic BattleTech scale, and just time and other projects sometimes get in the way of that one.
Fair. All right, let's ask another one that had some combat. This one was in Ilcon's eyes only, and it's actually one of your short stories, High Expectations. This is becoming one of my favorite factions, the Raven Alliance. It's has the Raven Alliance fighting, I believe it was the Capellans over, I forget which planet, but it was basically a giant dogfight scene. Now, I
Mhm.
want to talk about it partly because I want to join Catalyst's push for a bit more aerospace representation, and partly because I just kind of liked it. How did
Thank you.
you go about doing this story? Did you actually play aerospace games, or did you just play a lot of like space flight sim video games like Elite Dangerous?
Well, I love a good fighter game every once in a while. I was a huge fan of Wing Commander,
Mhm.
which is always a fun one right there. To research this one, I really did love playing some of my tabletop aerospace games right there, X-Wing and Attack Wing and some of those other ones that I really enjoy there. For this one, I really needed to dive into the Ravens, which are one of my favorite factions in general right there, and I'm looking forward to doing a little bit more with them. But there are also, I did get the chance to play a couple of aerospace prototypes over the last couple of months. So
Okay.
I've seen the future there. I've seen some of the options that we have. The trick to aerospace is always going to go back to there is so much when we talk about aerospace. You can't talk fighters unless you talk jump ships. You can't talk jump ships unless you talk warships. And it is a very, very fair point, and I know the line developers, especially Ray, has said this repeatedly. Warships, well, some people think they break the universe. It really does cause a major shift when we are so battle mech focused. There are still many who have not quite got onto the combined arms level, even though we've done that for the last several years right there. There is the concern that any victory you make on the ground, you can just blow up from orbit. Well, that's a problem you're going to have anywhere. So legitimately, I never want to forget the warships, but I also we need to see how the focus continues. To see are we focusing more on the ground? Do we want to do more with warships, aerospace, and everything else? Because also, having played the original aerospace rules and the original battle space rules and all of those, there is a lot to it and a lot we need to focus on if we want to continue forward in that realm. So there's a lot. I know there's a lot of possibilities there without giving anything away, but keep the faith with the aerospace stuff.
All
I'm
right.
sure you'll be hearing more soon.
All right. Is there anything else you could tell us about the aerospace stuff? Is it like have they kind of narrowed it down on in terms of prototypes?
I say that. Although last that I heard, there were three options. I've played two of them.
Hmm.
I liked both of them very much. I liked one of them more for the style of BattleTech. I think that went really well. But once again, until there's something in the box, option three or an option four or whatever comes down the pike is always possible. But what I can tell you is the version that I played was very user friendly. It felt very BattleTech,
Hmm.
and that is great. And it does seem like it will be scalable to do with other things. So I'm really, really excited to see it coming down the road. Uh, at least as a future product. I'm also super excited for some of the other stuff that, once again, we already know about that's coming out, such as Resurgent Empires, which is the Succession Wars game, which I loved the original Succession Wars, but these things that they have announced previously and shown over the last 2 years. So lots of good stuff coming down the pike.
All right. I'll be keeping my eye out for that. Now we're gonna end with the author questions with what are you working on now?
Well, to make you nice and happy, first and foremost, the first Snow Ravens novel is almost done.
Excellent.
Uh, Treachery of Ravens that's another one of those casualties of narrative story time. I've been working on this one for about a year and a half. Was right in on it right after Damocles Sanction, so that was enjoyable. The problem was Trial of Birthright took me in a different direction, so I needed to focus on that. So that is very good to make sure we kept up with the narrative. So hopefully, we will be seeing that this year. From last time that I've heard, we're almost done there. I have a Shadowrun novel that is almost done. That one's another casualty of needed to focus on BattleTech. That's one of the good things, but that one's good. That's the Chimera Complex. That was enjoyable. And then there is a Leviathans novel coming. So that is good. And once again, I meet with the executive editor on a weekly basis. So I'm also know my BattleTech return will be very, very shortly after Snow Ravens is done as well. There's a lot of areas where I can play around. So we just need to pick which of the three pitches that are already in is going to be priority.
All right. Now let's move on to you being the head of the Catalyst demo team. Now this is
Mm-hmm.
something I don't know a whole lot about, partly because I haven't gone to a whole bunch of conventions.
Sure.
How large is the Catalyst demo team, and how do you manage them all?
That's that's a really good question on both levels. How large is the demo team? We've got a couple of thousand agents at this point, right there, all over the world, in nearly every country, nearly every continent. It is That is part of the balance. We also have a lot of affiliated or semi-affiliated groups that do a lot with BattleTech, but due to just how the world and the galaxy goes right there, it's not they're not necessarily in lockstep with the demo team. We always try to be. BattleTech is for everyone. We want to be trying to be very supportive of everyone. But like I said, there are many groups that have been here nearly since the FanPro era. I tossed that one out because there is still one group of hardcore FanPro agents who are still playing old school. Well, I'm sure there's many more than that, but it's still playing old school, first edition, literally nearly battle droids. So I always like to remember that this is for everybody. We try to make things approachable and we try to make it good for everyone. How do I manage them all? I don't sleep very much, is the situation. I get messages from China at 2 o'clock in the morning. I get messages from different countries. I get roughly 60 to 100 emails a day. On any one of my Catalyst email accounts right there. And that's not even including the ones that go to customer care or anything else that'll eventually get bounced to me. No, every group that has ever wanted prize support, who is running an event, who has wants to know a little bit more about the storyline or to suggest their own scenarios, I get that all on a regular basis. So I've got a great team. I've got some wonderful leaders. We are continuing to expand as the project continues to expand, but we are really, really excited to bring on a lot of new people and to continue making sure that our organized play footprint is exactly what will work best for all the BattleTech fans and Shadowrun fans and Leviathans fans out there and the board game fans, as well as helping the lines themselves succeed.
All right. Now, what paint a word picture for me. What is the day what is like a day in the life of a Catalyst demo team coordinator? How does it look to you?
Oh, that's always a fun one. This all needs to be put into the theory of I am one of the few people on the East Coast, in Eastern Standard Time of the U.S. While we've got a few line developers and things that are there, a lot of the others are on Pacific Time or in completely different countries. So usually I'll get up in the morning and just the workaholic in me will go down to my home office and I will spend an hour or two on whatever the urgent emails of the day are. What I can go through myself, what I need to work on other levels, and so that'll usually take me till around 9 a.m. if I get up at 7. At that point, I will start trying to dive into whatever my writing is or whatever project we're working on with the line developer there. We try to work in lockstep. Once again, Catalyst Demo Team is an independent institution. It just kind of broaches at the middle with the person who's actually a CGL employee, which is me, and the demo team coordinator, who is I wear many hats, so sometimes I need to switch between the two.
Yeah.
But I'll work with the line developers. I'll work with some of my own designers on our end to see what's going on. And usually within an hour of that, I'm either in conference calls for several hours of the day, or I start getting calls from the West Coast saying, why did this person do blank? And then if I know what the situation is, I explain it. If not, I go and Sherlock Holmes goes harder at work to figure out who just said there's going to be a BattleTech convention on the moon. I don't know, but let me go figure out about the BattleTech convention on the moon.
Sounds fun.
Oh yeah, no, that's my personal favorite is always who said that blankety blank is about to happen. I don't know, guys. This is the first time hearing of it. Actually, I think you were involved in this one a short time ago. There was somebody. I got a call from upper leadership a couple of months ago of what's this convention that Catalyst is apparently supporting. I don't even know what this is. I said,
Mhm.
I don't know what it is either. Let me go find out. And then I dived a little deeper in, and oh no, some of our senior agents had already gotten approval from me and everybody else to do this convention. So they were correct. They just hadn't picked a name for the convention yet. So when blankety blank con came up, I have no idea what we're talking about, but at least an hour later I could go back to the uppers and said, hey guys, no, we know what this is. This is this that we were talking about. Oh, and what was a crisis an hour ago is now, okay, funny story. That's great. Which is 90% of my life.
Fair. And just
And
for the record, that convention is SobsCon in Burlington, Southern Ontario, coming in June. Tickets available now. Thank you. Continue.
yes, indeed, that is SobsCon, and we are looking forward to it. I'm still hoping I can get my butt up there, so that'll be lovely. But these are the sorts of things that run through the day, and then once again, because we're a gaming company, conference calls and planning meetings and things sometimes push right into the evening. So there's a little time for actual, life in the middle of that. But especially when you are a medium-sized game company, to upper medium right there, once again, your life is not always your own. But as anybody else will tell you, luckily I'm very, very blessed. My wife is very involved in the company. She's painting the miniatures while I'm on these calls. And so when we're not doing the day job thing, well, that's major. That's the major focus there. But no, it's great. Every day is a little different. I get to meet new people every day, and once again, kind of like this interview, I get to speak for the group. I get to once again remind people that BattleTech is for everyone, and it's a really enjoyable breakdown. Exactly what Randall Bills himself did on his big reunification tour. He wants to get out there. We want to get out there, shake hands, thank people for what we're doing, and give people a peek behind the curtain because while we're also a business, we're also fans and we also love this universe just like everyone else does.
Right on. Now, I know there are a bunch of affiliated, like non-affiliated groups that are also doing BattleTech stuff. How does Catalyst, how does the Catalyst demo team coordinate with these non-affiliated groups? And are there any plans to increase that cooperation or outreach to these groups in the future?
There is, and actually, your timing is excellent. As of Adepticon this year, I was honored to make the first affiliate agreements, partnership agreements with two long-standing BattleTech fan groups. And when we say affiliate agreements, it gives them greater access to CDT resources.
Hmm.
Most of them are already Catalyst demo team agents, but for the first time ever, they can now wear their patches proudly of their own group or their own items. That's going to be a separate announcement. They know who they are. We're
Okay.
planning on doing some fun stuff out there. But that also gives them the opportunity to really work on some of our newest stuff, like BattleTech Aces. One of those groups has been very, very involved because they're Canada-based, are the designers for Aces.
Hmm.
One of the other groups created and maintains one of the largest and most successful organized play lines for our events right here. So they're doing a wonderful job, and we really have been trying to reach out and increase our coordination because once again, we are stronger together. The trick to this is there are some requirements that Catalyst and Catalyst license holders do require. So that's why it's more of a one-on-one. We're trying to bring people in slowly. There are unfortunately some things just due to the nature of the license. If you're doing this and we're supporting you, you need to follow certain rules. And once again, it's not you need to wear blue on Tuesdays, we wear pink on Wednesdays, that sort of thing. Right there. It's we need to follow the standards of these are the miniatures you need to use. These are the items that you can do. And if you're going to create something new and interesting, depending on what it is, if it's just a one off scenario for your local game store, it's not a big thing. If you're trying to do something larger than that or that requires the blessing for a specific scenario, that's that's a different ball of wax, but we can help you to speak to the people you need to.
All right. Let's go on to what has historically been known as the worldwide event. Now, I don't remember if there was a worldwide event in 2024 because I think Randall is on his world tour. I think that kind of took up everybody's time. But I believe there is a worldwide event happening for this year. And I think it's called Fell Deeds Awake. Am I correct in this one?
I I know what you're talking about. I had to
Okay.
think about that one for a while, but no, that actually answers the question nicely, so I can give you a deeper breakdown of that.
Okay.
Last year there were two worldwide events that were set up and planned.
Okay.
One of them was under before I had come on board, before the transition and everything else, because we try to plan these things a couple of years ahead of time. There was a worldwide event that was put out by our Chicago division,
Mhm.
which is Fell Deeds Awake. Uh, and that it was billed as the worldwide event. And
Okay.
once again, that was how it was designed. That's how it's going out there. We support all of our BattleTech players, and since it was always already in progress, we support it. We give the thumbs up. Go, go! This is enjoyable. We also, and that one, it was a very well thought out scenario made by Alex Campen, wonderful designer of some of, and his team right there, wonderful designers of worldwide events for the last nearly decade, I think, right there. So that is wonderful. At that same time, we had also worked with some of the BattleTech authors and the BattleTech line developers on a separate scenario, which will be this year's worldwide event,
Okay.
which had a different breakdown and goal. The Traditionally, the worldwide events were not canon. We tried to make them as canon as we could, but we either had to focus them on planets that would not change the novels, because sometimes we can't really have the effect of the book should have an effect on the storyline there, and sometimes that doesn't always work out timing wise.
Mhm.
This year, worldwide event is more focused on open-ended creation of mercenary units, of your own mercenary units, and being able to play them in a overarching scenario, so you have an effect on the universe, and so we can start moving towards some of the new Age of the Mercenaries stuff we've been doing that has been coming out since BattleTech Mercenaries Kickstarter, the Mercenary Combat Patrol, Combat Patrol book, not Combat Patrol, Combat Manual,
Combat manual, yeah.
Mercenaries Combat Manual that they just announced right there, and some other stuff that had been mentioned earlier, such as the Mercenaries Handbook. Once again, we're very, very focused on mercenaries because that's also a wonderful area that we are very excited to get back into. It's a lot of people got into the universe through mercenaries, Hellhounds, Wolf Dragoons, Iridani Lighthorse, Knights of St. Cameron. Legitimately, we still want that to be the focus, but we also want people, especially now that Alpha Strike is a thing and Aces are a thing, to create their own events. That also makes the worldwide event a little bit more of a challenge, because for a while we were doing the classic BattleTech event, the Alpha Strike event, and the Time of War RPG event.
Mhm.
We want to still give it that sort of level, but when you've got Aces now as a thing, and you've got all of the other stuff that's running off, it's hard to do all of that, especially on a fan project slash semi-canon level.
Mhm.
So we really had to devote a lot of time and resources there. Just as the final thought there, we are also working with a new company on our organized play back end right there, which I luckily be working on as well, for the purposes of so these scenarios can have a visible result. I very much think back to the WizKids era and the Battlemaster program that they were doing right there of, oh, this month it's going to be or this quarter is going to be the planet of Anaxis. And you want to, every battle has an effect as to which of these two factions wins, or which of these three faction wins. I want to have that effect on things, and I want our players to really be able to feel like the things that they're doing have an effect. We try to do that on the source book end and on the novel end when we can.
Mhm.
If we see something cool, I've been at games and I said, that's really funny. I'm putting that in my next book. Many of the fans know very well that I pull this sort of nonsense. It's happened to me, and I love to do it. But no, I really want to. We're definitely looking to continue the worldwide events. Much like Randall's World Tour, we really want to continue doing fun things, but we're also trying to navigate the all of the requirements we've got right now, both in the real world with costs of things and production and everything else, and just being able to have enough spoons or spell slots to work on multiple things. But Ray Arostia, the hardest working man in BattleTech, as always, right there. On a daily basis, if you asked him what he did, he'll tell you about all 7 projects, including 2 more that he figured out in the last 20 minutes, and just trying to negotiate all of the things that we're working on right there. I've got a very small corner of the sky right here, but he's got to keep track of all of that. The Shadowrun developers with RJ and Leviathans with Bryn, all these things, just so much goes into it day in and day out, and I've got nothing but the best of respect for them. But we also need to juggle that on our end of how do I have we've got, I think in the last month we've had 50 new agent applications, and they continue coming in. People want to be a part of this universe, and there's few better ways to do it than starting with the demo team.
Speaking of starting with the demo team, let's say someone wants to actually run a BattleTech event, and they want to have Catalyst's official blessing. What should they do to get it?
First and foremost, they should become an agent or find an agent, because once you've got an agent on there, it gives me a lot more freedom to do things. Especially now where prize support with the world how it's being right now, or just getting people out to some of these friendly local game stores. We're looking to reinvigorate our Firebase program, which has been quiet for a couple of years now. But if I've got an agent that I know who's going to be at an event, that really helps me to say, "Hey, my name's Joe. I'm calling from little store in Australia. I don't have a huge following right now, but I do have Agent 2609 right there who's willing to run some events here. Can you give us a little something to start up? Grinder kits, uh, prize support packs, force packs, sometimes even just a rule book or two. We have the ability to do. It just depends mostly on how the world is going at that very moment and the size of an event. Now, if somebody comes to me, as they regularly do, I get at least 1 or 2 of these a week. Hey, I'm supporting Awesome Con. I don't know if there's a convention called Awesome Con. I'm assuming so. But I'm supporting Awesome Con right now, and I really want to do something. How do I do it? I can send an agent their way, depending on how many people they're expecting. We can send some stuff. I try to do at least 3 or 4 new conventions a year and see how that works. We did ChupacabraCon the other year. Sometimes we send full booths. Sometimes we send agents. Sometimes we just send some stuff. Unfortunately, we can't get everyone just due to the nature of the demand, but we try to figure out what works well for us and how we can expand. Adepticon was always a good convention for us, but in the last couple of years, it has ballooned into one of our tier 1 conventions. So any convention in an instant can be a big thing, or if you just do a good enough tournament, sometimes it can be a big regional item for us. TotalCon, Northern Assault, some of the other Nova. Wonderful, wonderful conventions that we'd like to support and hope to see grow even bigger.
Gesundheit.
Thank you.
All right. What can you tell us for the rest of 2025? What are the big events that Catalyst has planned for the rest of the year?
Well, most of that goes by conventions, right? There are big conventions that are remaining is Origins in Columbus, Ohio in middle of June. Then, of course, there's the big whopper, Gen Con, which is going to be in August, of course. That's where we usually try to put out the most of our stuff. And then PAX Unplugged for the US in December, late November, I think, maybe this year. November, December.
Maybe I haven't checked yet, but it was December last year.
It was December last year. For some reason, I think it's shifted a little bit, but might have been up, down, not quite sure where. But those are our big U.S. conventions. We've got at least another 20 to 30 others in other countries and here. Last year, we were very blessed that Randall could go to quite a few other countries, so we could really support the other our international friends and our international partners. The timing on that could not have been better. With everything that's going on right now with prices and travel and all of this, we could not have done that this year, as easily as we did last year. I say easily, but Randall spent nearly 2/3 of his year elsewhere, so it wasn't me with my head there. So
Yeah.
thank you, as always, Randall, for all you do. But on the event side, we of course have several Trials of Blood name coming up, which is wonderful. We've got the Solaris Melee Challenge. We've got we're showing off hopefully aces this year, BattleTech aces on a greater scale. Masters and Minions, where you get to play against some of the notables from BattleTech.
Mhm.
We were also for the first time this year doing a Masters and Minions Alpha Strike edition, which is to kind of respect what we're doing there.
That's
And
great.
then, of course, some of our number one new events right there, like the Alpha Strike 350 with WolfNet, one of our esteemed partners and loving groups right there. We've got Fox Network working on some stuff with Aces that we're hoping to show off right there. Just really, really great opportunities for people to get into BattleTech. I've been saying for years that we're in the middle of the BattleTech Renaissance, which I truly believe has been going on even before the Clan Invasion Kickstarter. But it's a wonderful opportunity. If you ever wanted to get into a rich game with beautiful history, great literature, and great novels, fun source books, and just fun, stompy mechs, this is the time to do it.
All right. And what can you tell us about the future for the Catalyst demo team? Is the plan just to continue growing the network?
Yeah, the plan will always be to continue growing the network. A big portion of that is also going to see how it fits into our organized play plans.
Okay.
Catalyst realizes how important the fans are at all times, and we try to do what we can. We are working towards items like prize support. The Grinder Kit program itself was designed so people can play with the items and get friendly local game stores to be able to do some of this stuff on an easier basis, as well to help our agents. We're definitely continuing to build up, and we want more agents to come on board because also there, as I said, there are a few better ways to really get in with the company and into the universe than helping out here. If you start writing your own scenarios and doing them at your local game store, eventually that will make you a better and better scenario writer, and then we may need you somewhere else. We may need you in a source book. We may have you write a novel. You never know.
All right. Well, that's it for me and the regular questions. But nobody gets out of these interviews without having some fun surprises tossed at you. So
Great.
I have a couple of fun questions. First, BattleTech history full of secrets to varying degrees, which then usually get answered later through fiction, like the
Mm-hmm.
details of who was responsible for the death of Aldo Lestrade, for example. If there was one current BattleTech secret that you could choose and write an ending or a solution or something for, what would it be?
Oh, that's a good one. The problem here is I am, and the other authors know this, and John Helfers gives me a good poking for it regularly. I am the keeper of the keys. I'm the one who loves putting these little open-ended pieces of nonsense into the books. I know who was in the black cell under the under the Davian castle right there. I know what was written on the piece of paper that the Nova Cat handed in to Alaric right there. I know all this stuff, so I'm gonna have to dig a little bit deeper to know. I would love and to be able to answer some of the questions going along with the original Red Corsair. Back during the Morgan Kell, Patrick Kell
Mhm.
aspect right there. Now, I'm hoping Mike will do that himself. Mike Stackpole will do that himself. I'm rooting for him, but no, that's probably the sort of. I love all of that. I love the Jihad Conspiracies book. I loved all of the various conspiracies books and Masters and Minions and things, the Star Core dossiers that we put out. I love those little questions and I love those RPG opportunities for people to really dive into the universe and try out. So I'll definitely go with the original Red Corsair.
Perfect. Now, second question. We know that you named a mercenary unit for the second succession war source book called Buudacas
Ah,
Wrath. I think Buudacas Wrath? I think that's how you
you
pronounce it.
betcha. Yep.
They're listed as having been destroyed during that war. If you had the opportunity, what would the story of the end of Buudacas Wrath be?
Ooh, oh, that's a good one. Where it gets interesting right there is when they were doing the contest that had you name a mercenaries unit to get created. It was with the reality that this group was going to die off screen in the Second Succession War. So at the time, my fiance at the time and I would come up with this unit. I would very much like them to go out grandly in battle, potentially defending a colony or one of the planets right there, because they really were some incredible warriors. It was a wonderful warriors group that was very devoted to their plan. I do not want them to go out off screen in an explosion as has happened, or got nuclear bombardment of a planet,
Which
which is
has
why we
also
don't have
happened.
warships. Oh, which has also happened. So,
Yeah.
what I would like them to do, I would like them to go out nobly. But also, I'd love the chance, even if just in short story form, to kind of delve into that one. But that's the sort of thing that makes BattleTech so incredible to work for there. You can pull out a name, you can pull out a character, you can pull out a little something in a footnote in the source book and write for it, which also connects me to the other half of the thought process of, if you want to get into, and I've had several new authors who I know get into BattleTech, submit to Shrapnel. Find a little something in a corner of the universe that you want, write a story, make a little pitch, and you too can be a published BattleTech author and really give it an opportunity. So if you love the universe and you feel like writing, tell your own stories, whether in RPG form or here. Always works out. You'll feel good.
All right. And last question. This one's a little off the wall. If you want a competition to have one canon mech sculpted in Lego and sent to you, with the caveat that you'd have to build it on live stream, which mech would it be, and what would you choose as the music mix to be playing in the background during your live stream?
Ooh, that is an interesting one. Um, I'm going to assume, both for ease of things and just being a good idea, it'd probably be the Devastator,
Okay.
because those blocky shoulders and things will probably be easier. Although I'd very much like to see the Regent or Templar done
Hmm.
right there. That would be so. I'm getting stuck on the arms right there. And I'd want it to be me and my wife, because she loves Lego as much as I do. We would definitely do that as a team effort. That would probably be I'd like some classic rock going on right there,
Mhm.
or some good soundtracks of some great musicals. We love putting on musicals and things and watching. The other day, I'm playing Claire Obscura right now, so we've got all this pretty piano and violin music going on as I'm role playing there. So that's all great. But no, I'd like some rock. I like a nice beat. That'll be good.
All right. Well,
Nice.
that's everything I had. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about, or anything that I missed?
I always like to hit the two most important aspects right there of thanking you, first and foremost, for giving me the opportunity. Thank you to the entire Sarna crew. As an author, as a lover of Battletech, we desperately appreciate what you do right there, because everybody
Thank
thinks we've
you.
got the secret database. We don't. We use Sarna like everybody else. I joked the other day that I was going, when I was creating the picking a blood name for a character in Trial of Birthright. I'm like, this name sounds really familiar, and I go back and, oh, I picked this name for the short story from the Tookie short story I did. No wonder it seems so familiar. Ha ha! I'm smarter than I thought. But thank you for all you do. I'd love to thank all
You're
my
welcome, and thank you.
friends and partners at Catalyst, Lauren Coleman, who leading the pack right there, Randall Bills, Bryn Bills, Talon Coleman, John Helfers, Ray Orosio, once again, hardest working man in Battletech right there, Aaron Cahall, and the entire team right there, the artists, the writers, every person who contributes, because It's the only way we can keep this universe going. So I thank them. I thank you for what you do. And then, exactly as we've been talking right now about the demo team, please, please, please get involved. If you want to play scenarios, get involved. Once again, you need to just do one event a year. We've got tons of stores, nearly 5 to 6 new ones every day, or at least every week, trying to come and join on board. We can always use more people, and it gives you the inner track. You get to see things sooner. You get to learn the back room tricks and where we are and some of the history that we can't tell to the rest of the world right there. And if you're really, really interested in growing with the line or just growing in the gaming industry, there are always good opportunities to continue forward.
All right, perfect. Well, thanks again so much for taking the time out of your day to talk to me, and I look forward to seeing your next novel about the Snow Ravens.
I look forward to it. Thank you so much. You have a wonderful day, and my best to everyone.
You too.